Welcome into the DNVR Rockies podcast brought to you by DraftKings Sportsbook. Now, when you use promo code DNVR, you'll get $200 in free bets instantly when you place a $5 bet this Sunday. That's code DNVR only at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. I am Patrick Lyons.
And live from LA, I'm Suzie Hunter. Patrick, how you doing?
Doing well, considering the Rockies continue to drive us up a wall. Today is Thursday. No, today's Friday. Yes,
today's
Thursday
Friday. We're talking about Thursday's game.
It's difficult to keep track of things when the Rockies nearly lost the exact same score on Wednesday night as they did Thursday night. They lost 6-4 to the Giants. There were some positives that were in there. We'll get to that. We'll talk about some players. A lot of people have been injured here on the San Francisco trip, going on the IL, done for the year. Some guys getting activated. We can talk a little bit about what's going on down in Albuquerque, RIP, and preview the Dodgers series, have some fun like we do each and every day.
Yes, things are going on everywhere. What are we going to start with? What are we starting with, Patrick? Steer the ship.
Let's start with Ford Proctor, and this is not an ad read for some kind of conglomerate, but
there's
the San
no
Francisco
way
Giants.
Ford Proctor is a real name. I'm so sorry, but there's just no way.
If you follow us on Twitter at DNVR_Rockies, there was a tweet right around game time of we can't let somebody like named Ford Proctor beat us. And what happened in his first at bat in the bottom of the second inning?
Freaking slam.
Yes. First pitch, grand slam. First home run of his career. He had none. He had like 4 at bats going into this game. And that was kind of that was ultimately the game. And so if you turned it off at that point, you missed some things, but I understand why you would have turned it off at that point. Actually, Ryan Feltner calmed down. He gave up 5 runs in those 2 innings. And then for the next 4, they were all scoreless, only gave up 2 hits, 1 walk, 3 strikeouts. So was able to get to his 6th inning mark, which was nice, his first time since I think August 20th, also against the San Francisco Giants. So he has a season-long ERA, a little bit over 6, less than ideal there. But what was your thoughts on the 9th inning, Suzie? I mean, that's always good, right?
I feel like I'm living in Groundhog's Day this series because we keep having these situations where the Rockies do a mini rally and the tying run is at the plate. So I just feel like we see this so much. Like it makes me not even excited for rallies anymore because I'm like, it's just gonna turn out the same way.
But yes, well, but there was a rally. The rally did.
There was a rally. Rallies are amazing, and I don't know why I'm being so cranky about a rally. I think I would be happier if they were like, "Oh, and they won."
Yeah, it was like, oh, that was almost all for nothing. But in the 9th inning there, so what we almost had is a couple of things too. I had the tweets generated here that they could have lost by an identical 6-3 score on Wednesday and Thursday night, and we would have had something that I imagine hasn't happened in a very long time. Is not only would the score have been identical on back-to-back days, but Wednesday starter John Brebbia. It was a bullpen day. Sean Jelly pitched most of the game, 4 innings.
My favorite name.
And then John Brebbia could have finished the game on Thursday. So started the first game, closed out the second one, identical scores. Has that ever happened? Who knows? Who cares? Because that's not actually how it ended up coming to fruition. Here's how the 9th went down.
Patrick Lyons head.
Yeah, that's it. You got to be ready for those kind of things. Daza was batting leadoff. We talked yesterday with Drew Goodman about Daza maybe being one of those candidates next year. If the Rockies can't get a leadoff hitter in the offseason, Daza has a decent enough batting average, puts the ball in play. You'd like to see him take maybe a few more pitches, but he singles to lead off the 9th. Then Alan Trejo singles. Brendan Rodgers does make an out. He had just come off on the IL earlier in the day. CJ Cron, sacrifice fly, scores a run. And so now there's 2 outs. At least you got 1 run. And then Sean Bouchard, the guy that we've pretty much been saying for at least a week now, deserves a lot more attention, ends up launching a 2-run home run, his second of his career. And it is a little bit interesting at that point. That was where it was 6-3. Gabe Kapler did have to go to his bullpen there. and try to get something going because you didn't want that game necessarily to slip away. So he goes in and gives up that home run to Bouchard, who going into this game, he had himself a nice little streak. Goodman even said on his podcast, we kind of touched on it on yesterday's show, that entering Thursday, Sean Bouchard, who was batting fifth, you love to see that, him getting some more opportunities higher up in the lineup, but his 508 on base percentage entering Thursday night's game, uh, since he's been called up, ranked second in the majors behind Aaron Judge. Yes, since August 30th, you got Aaron Judge, number one, getting walks, hitting home runs, pretty much only doing those two things. And you've got Sean Bouchard right behind him, just over 500. Pretty amazing. He actually had started each of the Rockies' last 7 games, going 8 for 16 with 10 walks. So, yeah, he actually also had a 500 batting average over the last 7 games. And he had drawn a walk, at least one walk, in all 7 of those games. It was actually the longest streak by a Rockies player since Nolan Arenado had a streak of 7 games with a walk back in 2017. So patience is definitely something that young players don't have. You don't have that skill. You've got to build it up very much. And Bouchard already has this skill, and that's pretty promising. Is he somebody that we end up seeing as a leadoff hitter next year? I don't know. He won't be playing left field. Chris Bryant will be there. Maybe Bouchard's over in right. Did start out his career doing a little bit on the corners in the infield there. So, he could spell a couple games over at first base if you need to. But he's been interesting to see. Maybe not a world beater quite yet, Sean Bouchard, but definitely someone who's been contributing really well. Suzie, not a surprise that Bouchard was the guy who came through in the clutch with the big 2-run home run in the ninth with 2 outs.
You know what? Love this homer for Sean Bouchard. Of course, my Wi-Fi kicked me off, so I'm that you said, but Sean Bouchard looking good.
He's been legit. Yeah. He's one of only 4 players in franchise history who've drawn a walk in at least 8 straight games. And I'm now drawing a blank. His home run totally erased everything in my head, what he did, but he ended up walking also on Thursday night. So he's continuing to set records. Walt Weiss had 11-game streak in 97. Todd Helton had 4 streaks of 8 or more games consecutively drawing a walk. Larry Walker 3 times. Brad Hawpe. Sean Bouchard is now on that list. So we talked about it a week and a half ago. Tolia and Larry Walker having these similarities with 2 triples in the same game. A walk, a stolen base. Now Bouchard is on a pretty special list, and I'm glad people are really starting to take notice of his play because he's been bringing a lot of positive stuff to the lineup.
Oh, for sure, yeah, and you love to see him having, since he's come back up, he's been so happy for that.
And he'll be back home there. He'll be back home in UCLA guy. He is from Southern California. Was a little bit closer to San Diego area, but that will be cool. Kind of. I hope maybe some LA media and some of the Dodgers media will be looking to talk to him. Hopefully they've been able to recognize and identify how good he's been.
They
overall.
Freaking better. They better. I want the red carpet for Sean Bouchard, for their local guy.
But it didn't stop there. It was 6-3 at that point. Michael Tolia, he ended up singling. Elihuris Montero with his first career triple. Not sure if he needed the oxygen tank. Maybe if it was in Colorado. I mean, he's a big boy. You know what I mean? Nothing wrong with tapping into the old oxygen tank if you're a little bit on the huskier side. But he triples him in, gets an RBI. That's where it ends up 6-4. Ezequiel Tovar makes the final out. You can't get a base hit on one pitch in every single at bat of your career. I don't think anyone was expecting that.
No.
I mean, I guess you can't. We learned it. We thought maybe he could actually. There was one point on Friday night we go, why not? Why can't you do that?
Yeah. No. You know what? He had a great run for that.
He had a great run, but fortunately not enough. This loss to the Giants is now their 8th in a row against the Giants. Sweep last week at home, sweep last week on the road. They are doing it all.
The Rockies got no, I didn't say peace out. I was going to say the Rockies got swept by the Giants twice in 1 week. I just my camera. Yeah, that's quite unfortunate. Also, San Francisco's now at 500 for the first time since like all
Oof. Yeah. Well, playing
Even
the
though they're
Rockies
out
will
of it,
have that
even
impact.
though they're out of it completely, how nice for them to have a nice little run.
Yeah, on DNVR bets, I know they officially called it off. I think it's now time for us, Susie, to call off the hunt, call off the
The hunt
search.
for 69.
It's over. It's done. They've got 65 right now. They'd have to go 4-2 against the best team in all of baseball. It's not going to happen. So they're going to finish with less than 68.5 wins. So disappointing, at least in that perspective. Was just talking with Andre Simone
Yeah.
on the Denver Sports Podcast about that and how it's kind of come to this. It was really that series. I mean, shoot, I at this point, so the series last week was the one that totally upended them because I thought they were going to go 4-3. They went 1-6. That was really what dashed it.
That's big.
But, and for this series in California, I had them only going 2-7. I wasn't asking for a ton. 2-7, Susie. That's it.
And for a lot.
Now, but still, they can win 2 out of 6 against the Dodgers and at least get that part. But they're still going to be too short. And in fact, I may have mentioned this once in the last couple of days, but if they don't win a game here for the rest of the season and end up with, gosh, that would be a 11-game losing streak to finish out the year. I mean, that's bad enough. Anytime you have 11-game losing streak, that totally, gives you an imbalance in the win-loss column, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
But if they lose every single game to finish this road trip in LA, they will finish with the second worst record. I'm getting verklempt. The second worst record in franchise history at 65 wins. Second worst ever. If they win only one game, I think it's still going to be the second worst record.
What is the worst record?
History. That is, I believe that was 2012 when they only won 64 games. So we know they've avoided the 100 losses if that's of value to anyone, but it's still going down as one of the worst seasons in franchise history. Not great. Absolutely less than ideal overall. So we'll see what happens. Susie's going to be there in LA having a good time. We're going to be in Denver planning for a wonderful tailgate next Thursday. I imagine Susie might even be back by then. I wouldn't even be surprised if she took an Uber from DIA to the tailgate, which, of course, if you're a member to the DNVR.com, you're going to get a price break on that. You get a free shirt from DNVRlocker.com with an annual membership, 15% off your tab. That's been the biggest thing overall is, I mean, if you're just going to watch a game, grab a beer, grab a bite to eat, that 15% off is going to add up really quickly for your annual membership to the DNVR.com. All kinds of giveaways at our watch parties, going down at the bar all throughout the weekend. It's absolutely fantastic. Down on the corner of Colfax, New York. Make sure you join and get access to that members-only Discord as well. And look, help us out because these guys are helping us out. It's Game Time Tickets. The Game Time app is revolutionizing things. They've been doing it for a while, but we just really haven't been talking about it too much. I can remember talking about it a couple years ago because that was how I used to go to certain games, get tickets on the 50-yard line, courtside, behind home plate. To be fair, I'm a little bit more frugal, so when I got my tickets last minute on Game Time, I was sitting in the upper deck. But much like with that Giants series we talked about, we were getting tickets for only $1 a piece. So you can get that on the Game Time app. Actually, don't go to Game Time app. Forget I said that. Actually, check out our link in the description. That's how we get a little bit of credit. So and they know that you heard about Game Time app through DNVR. It's absolutely fantastic. Last minute drops can be found on seats you really thought you could never buy or even afford. You can save up to 60% when you wait closer to the start of an event. So if it's one of those things you're hanging on the fence, or maybe you need to go by yourself and you're waiting for the last minute, Game Time is going to pay off in a major way. If you love DNVR, you're going to love Game Time. Best way to support us is by buying your tickets through the link in the description. Also in the description, you can check out more information about Evoca TV. They are the GOAT in Colorado sports, that of course being the greatest of all television. That's because you're getting altitude, you're getting AT&T Sportsnet. So yeah, you're getting Nuggets, you're getting Avs, you're getting the Rockies, You're getting some college sports in there, over 60 entertainment channels. You can also get the NFL Network. It's the ultimate game viewing zone. You can even stream your teams from your phone, laptop, or tablet when you're on the go. You can add the discounted Sling TV bundle for ESPN and more. Look, all you got to do is check out evoca.tv/Colorado10. That's EVOCA.tv/Colorado and the number 10. It's typically $25 a month plus a $5 receiver fee. But right now, when you go to that site, we're going to lop off $10 off your first 3 months. No contracts, no catches. Evoca is TV made for champions of the remote.
Love it.
Yeah, 64 wins in 2012 was the worst, Suzie, as we were talking about. Second worst is 66 wins. So they might tie for the second worst amount, and the third worst is 67, which was in 2005. And when they were expansion team, they basically got a group of leftover players that nobody wanted, and they said, "Hey, let's run out there." They still ended up winning 67 games, and this team might be lucky if they can get 67 right now.
They would be lucky if they got 67 wins right now. Yeah, this is it's been kind of crazy. I mean, I'm glad I didn't the TikToks at 100 losses, but darn if they're gonna get close.
Well, you would have been like halfway there. Between the two of us, like our predictions would have been right there. I had the last 3 weeks, and then you would have had the last 2 weeks probably right. So between us, we definitely could have claimed
that's fair.
A
That's
victory.
fair.
I think so. Before we preview the Dodgers series here, 6 games historic. We started
So
off by
weird.
saying that it was historic. We'll get to it in a second. It's literally historic. We're not even talking about historic for the Rockies, which 30 years of history is a lot. It's one of the reasons why they deserve a Hall of Fame. A lot of great players, a lot of
It's
great
enough.
moments. Yeah, totally. It's more than enough. But to get to a couple notes, Brendan Rodgers, we saw back in the lineup, batting third, back from a hamstring sprain, but going on the IL. Connor Joe with the right serratus strain.
What is that?
That was my question to you. Was what is a serratus? It made me think of like oblique muscles, and I wasn't too far off. It's kind of like under your armpits almost.
Okay.
It's
These muscles over here.
like if you do pull
We're
downs.
both rubbing our armpits right now.
That's why you need to be watching on the DNVR Sports channel over on YouTube, so you know.
Just instinctually rubbing our armpits. This is great content.
It's a weird spot to get injury. I feel like when you do pull downs, like if you want like a wide back, that muscle that kind of juts out from the upper part of your bicep to your obliques, that's probably the serratus. So it's the right one for Connor Joe. It is retroactive.
For Patrick's personal training podcast after
that's
this.
It. Totally.
Directly after this.
How to come off the IL in the minimum 10 days. Connor Joe, hopefully he liked my page when I made the video. Let's see what happens with that. But it does go retroactive to September 26th. So I saw some reports out there that his season's done. But I actually think he would still be eligible to come off for like a day or two. I don't know if that's going to happen, but we'll see. That could be a second year in a row he finishes the year on the IL.
Yeah, I was wondering the same thing because, I did see other people talking about how, his season's over. Like, well, he could come back. What's going on? We just already planning on it?
Yeah, already hoping for the worst. We saw Ty Block. It was added to the roster. I haven't seen him play yet. It's been a while since we've seen the Blockmaster. I just made that
the little cat.
The little cat. That was the nickname. Yes, I was going to say the preacher. The preacher is the official nickname on his Baseball Reference. But yeah, we got it. We've got it. I know. Don't.
Why?
See the face.
Why?
He's
Do you know?
He's a preacher. I don't know, but Little Cat is way better.
I like Little Cat.
Is definitely way better.
I want some context on the preacher. I guess I'll dig around and find out.
He's a holy man. We'll just leave it at that. But he's the preacher, spreading good vibes here and there, and so he gets added to the roster because Carlos Estevez put on the COVID IL. Haven't seen that used in a while. Turns out, okay, he didn't have COVID, but he is pretty sick and he is done for the year. So that's it. Carlos Estevez, his Rockies career may be over. That could be the last time we have ever seen Carlos Estevez as he enters into the abyss that is free agency. And we know Rockies, they've got good players, and it's on one hand you say, Bill, Mr. Schmidt, Mr. GM man, as we all call him in the press box, Mr. GM man.
That's
You
his
make
preferred nickname. He
it is
asks
his
us
preferred.
to call him that.
His baseball reference page, it says Mr. GM man. That's his nickname. Now GMs don't get a baseball reference page, but
Why
is,
don't
is
they?
is this idea that, hey, they just need to play better? Yes, they can play better, but if they don't do it for the Rockies and they don't do it all at the same time, you're going to have a 65 win season and you're going to lose 90 plus games. But they've got some talent there. And when players go to other teams, or when other teams kind of make those overtures to Rockies players and say, hey, we'll pay you actually some good money, you see the kind of years that a Tyler Anderson has, and Adam Ottavino still going strong in his career really well.
Mhm.
DJ LeMahieu is going to be just shy of $100 million in free agency since he's left the Rockies. And so I think Carlos Estevez is going to be another one of those guys where, some people kind of were really surprised with how much money John Gray made in free agency. They may be surprised with how much money Carlos Estevez is going to make, because he's a guy, great clubhouse guy, no doubt about it,
Mhm.
but also brings a lot to the table as well in the bullpen. So that'll be the end for him. He's on the COVID 15-day IL, even though he doesn't have COVID. And who else is hurt? Oh, Charlie Blackmon, torn
Yeah.
meniscus in his left menisci. I believe it would be his left menisci. We saw it on Sunday. I think we
I don't
actually
think that's
talked
the
about it a
term.
little bit. We talked about it on the show briefly. When he hit that double, he kind of just made a 90-degree turn to
Yeah.
second base. I mean, he was going slow at that point anyway. He was just jogging. Was removed from the game. Connor Joe came in. I think that might have been in the 9th inning, in fact, of Sunday's game. Feels like a billion years ago at this point. But his season is done. But Jose Iglesias, back in the mix. He got the start on Wednesday. Tovar was starting again at shortstop. So it's a real mash group, right? A mash unit.
We are just crawling our way to the end of the season here at this point with all of these injuries. Just absolutely
clawing away. Yeah,
clawing away. I don't know. Yeah.
I don't know how much more there possibly could get banged up here.
Don't say that. Don't put that out there, because then something weird's going to happen and like Tovar's legs are going to fall off or something.
Like Ford Proctor hitting a grand slam for his first career home run, like something like that.
Something like that could also happen, for sure.
Well, that's the thing. Is we should probably, we should look at the Dodgers roster and make a prediction that's just so ridiculous, and there's a good chance that it may even happen. I mean, that's kind of where we're at. I'm surprised we didn't stumble upon this game earlier in the season, is to just look and go, all right, what would just be so stupid to happen? And you go, all right, how about Joey Gallo having a 3-homer game? No, not that stupid. We've seen Hanser Alberto pitch a lot this year. He did something earlier in the year. Like, he's got something like 10 innings pitched. It's been ridiculous how much they've actually ended up using him. And so I could see Hanser Alberto going like 3 scoreless innings. He's a position player, by the way, folks. If you're not familiar with the household name, that is Hanser Alberto. But that could be the one, right? He's pitched 10 innings this year, and
that's
has
hilarious,
been
though. Hilarious.
3.60 ERA. 3.60 ERA. He's only struck out 1. So that's it right there. He struck out only 1. He ends up going 2 or 3 innings and strikes out like 3 guys. It's not that crazy to think about.
Should the Rockies trade for Hanser Alberto for the bullpen?
I mean, everyone could use their own little Shohei Ohtani.
I mean, look at him. We're living in an age of so many Shoheis.
Yeah, we could see, maybe if the Dodgers have a bullpen game, we could see 3 former Rockies going to finish out the game. That being Yency Almonte. Enjoyed that conversation that you had with him a couple days ago on the Suzie show. Chris Martin, no, not the father of Apple Martin, or the ex-husband of the creator of Goop. That would be Gwyneth Paltrow. People are like, what are all these things? These mean things. See, that's the problem.
Well, I'm following you. I just didn't know that
you are.
I didn't know that you knew this much about Gwyneth Paltrow's family.
I know plenty about Goop. Okay, so Goop, it's
Listen,
number one.
it was the conscious uncoupling heard around the world. That was like such a moment.
Yes, but we're not talking about that Chris Martin.
We're not.
We're
No,
not
we're
talking about
not.
we're not talking about those candles either. We're talking about Chris Martin, the reliever, and we're talking about uh, Tommy Canely. Yeah, like he's around too. So you could have three former Rockies. So not that special, not that wild, but it's the Hanser Alberto. That's going to be the crazy things. Maybe Kevin Pillar comes off the IL. Yes, he's still around. The guy that no one remembers was a Rocky, right? That's the question. If you want to win a bar bet, say who played for the final month on the Rockies in center field, or that who are the two guys they traded. Some people remember Michael Givens. No one remembers Kevin Pillar,
I don't remember it.
except people who listen to our show.
I
That's
don't. I mean, you keep saying it, but I think you're just making it up for a bit. Don't
it
remember it
was
at
a
all.
wild time because no one ever saw it actually with their naked eye. No one was able to actually go to the ballpark and see them.
Exactly. So maybe it didn't happen. I'm convinced it didn't happen.
It's only been 2 years since 2020, but I feel
I'm
like
a
we're
con-
close to a retrospective.
I'm a conspiracy theory this right here. Never
I'm all
happened.
for it. Well,
Never
we can
happened.
definitely might need to do a deep dive into the 2020 season. Again, it's only been 2 years, but so much I feel like I've forgotten about, like about it not having happened, and it was so unmemorable for so many reasons.
Yeah.
I would be curious to know how memorable it is for some guy. I mean, Dodgers won the World Series that year, so
Yeah.
to them that's memorable, but uh, just such a weird year, such a weird time where it seemed
Yeah.
like sports just didn't matter. Um,
And also, I mean, that was a season where I literally could not watch any Rockies baseball because I got moved to a morning show. So I had to go to bed
oh,
at like 5 o'clock. So by the time the Rockies play, I'm asleep for hours. So I missed out on watching that whole 2020 season pretty much. I really didn't catch any games. It was kind of unfortunate.
and I don't think it's any surprise that the viewership for the Rockies games took a dip, and the viewership for Wake Up Hartford did so well. I think people said, "Well, if I can only have one or the other, I
Actually,
need my Wake Up Hartford."
it's called Good Morning Connecticut.
Oh, so close.
You
That
were
was my
really
second
close
guess.
though. You're
That
really
was my
close.
second guess. Where do they come up with these names? It's amazing. I'll tell you what. Here's a name I know where they came up with. Do you know the American Raptors? So it's the
Oh.
right. Do you actually know where the name comes from? I mean, we know the
I,
American part, but Raptors.
are they named after me? Because I make that noise.
So so what kind of animal is a raptor?
He's a dinosaur.
Yes, but we're talking about hawks. So
Oh,
predatory like hawks, they're called raptors. Like that's actually what it
they are
represents.
also a dinosaur, right?
Yes, no, they
I'm
are.
not
Yes,
making that up. Okay. I'm like,
you're
I'm
not.
not stupid, am I?
No, velocity. No, you are for the sound you made, but not for thinking raptors are a dinosaur. But yeah, we're talking about the birds, and as Kale points out in our private chat, birds are dinosaurs. Yes, that's
Yes.
true, and they very much look similar. I was just thinking, we have plenty of hawks out here in Colorado, and if you see them like walking or hopping around, like they look like these little creatures that definitely could take over the world. So those are the raptors they're talking about. Eagles, right? Like an American eagle. That's a type of American raptor. But the American raptors we
Birds.
have in Colorado, in Glendale, Colorado, down in Rugby Town, USA, at Infinity Park. They're learning the sport, and you could learn along with them. You're probably already listening to Colton Strickler on the DNVR Rugby podcast. You're probably already going over to AmericanRaptors.com right now as I speak to stream all the games from their website and to get free tickets all throughout their season. They've got international teams coming in for tournaments and competitions all the time. I mean, you can learn a lot about betting on rugby too during the off season if you need that. Colton's got the lowdown on that. So make sure you check out AmericanRaptors.com. Travis Legal is where you need to check out if something went down, like a car crash that wasn't your fault. Now you've got injuries, medical bills, lost income, property damage, and you've got to deal with that kind of disruption in your life. What do you do? Where do you go? Travis Legal Offices is your source. 303-766-87766 for free consultation on your personal injury matter. That's kind of the biggest piece, is just getting the conversation going and saying, hey, do I have a case, or am I blowing this up out of proportion? No, get that free consultation so they can let you know exactly how much they can help you. You can reach out 24/7 on the web at travislegaloffices.com. Don't just assume the insurance companies are going to look out for you, because they go to great lengths to tilt the playing field in their favor. It's unfortunate. You're relying on them to look out for your best interest, but that's not always the case. Travis Legal Offices, that is the case. They will look out for you. It's about respect, response, and results. Keep that motto in mind for each and every one of their cases, is what they do. Reach out to Travis Legal Offices today at 303-766-8766. Now, I don't know that we even want to sue anyone down in Albuquerque, but I also don't know what grounds we would have to sue the Isotopes for getting rid of the isotope slope, because it's so wrong.
Here's the thing. I knew that the hill was going away. They announced it last week. I did not realize that they were going to start demolishing the hill right after the game. Like, the players went out, took their pictures, fans went out, and apparently got to, say goodbye too. But they started tearing that thing apart that night. And right now, so it's Friday. Their last game was on Wednesday. The hill's gone. The taupe slope is totally gone.
That was almost more shocking, to be honest.
It was honestly, the timing. The timing
yes.
really deeply upset me.
Great point. I could not agree more. Yeah, like when you heard that they were going to remove it, you're upset. But I think pretty quickly you go, I could see why it makes sense. Or I understand what the justification will probably be. Even if you don't really agree with it, you go, okay. But this was something where it's like the next day, you wake up, you roll out of bed, and you're like, hey, maybe I'm going to try to go down to the ballpark and see it. Too late. It's already gone. And in a weird way, if you look at the photographs of it, because there's no longer the slope there. So now the wall is like 10 feet high from the ground. And you're like, well, now nobody can rob a home run. And you realize, hey, wait a minute, that hill had a purpose. It allows you to run up the hill, steal a home run. Now it's impossible. Now you got to climb a fence and you got to jump down from there. It's actually more dangerous, folks. It's even more dangerous than before.
You know what? I didn't even think of what purpose the hill had served. But yeah, I guess it would make it easier to rob home runs. And in a park like that, where there's lots of runs, that kind of evened the playing field a little bit, I feel like. Okay. Ironically.
Yeah, very true. All right. So, Kale, please make a note. We need somebody to Photoshop a hill going from probably just outside the dirt on the left side of the infield. So it's going to start there, the incline, all the way up to the top of the Green Monster at Fenway Park, so we can get some more home run robberies. Imagine what that would look like. Like, that's essentially what we're talking about here. That's insane. I love it. I want to see it. Photoshop it, please, someone.
Kale, please Photoshop this over the weekend. We are begging you. Thank you so much.
The only question is like, what does it look like in left center? Like, there's like another steep drop off there. I haven't thought this through. I'm beginning to think maybe my idea of a slope that goes about 125 feet from the start of the outfield grass to the top of the Green Monster may not be a good idea, but I'm not convinced yet. I still got to do more research on that. So yeah, that was shocking. That was disappointing to see that was gone. I actually wonder if they're going to change the outfield in general, because it kind of had I don't know if you would say convex, because it wasn't a straight across center field like you have at Coors Field. It was arced so that there was no like edge. Like like I'm talking about this Fenway Hill. Is that like, well, wait a minute, how do you get off the side of it? Well, there was no sides because it was like self-contained, if you will, which made sense. So now they may even change, the complexion of what the outfield might look like. Could increase even more home runs. I don't think the Isotopes could possibly hit any more home runs than they hit this year. It was like 240. It was insane. Yeah. But it'll be interesting to see what happens there.
Hold on. We got a comment from Zach Gottlieb. I still miss the hill in Houston. Houston had a hill?
Yes. When Minute Maid Park was first built, and it was called Enron Field, it had something called Tal's Hill, which I've looked this up numerous times, and I always forget who Tal was. But yes, they had a hill in center field. It wasn't curved. It did just go straight back. and I'm 99% sure there was there was a pole in center field for a period of time, and then they moved it back, and they were like, okay, the pole is ridiculous. But that kind of all goes back to a time in which, the outfields were just gigantic, and you just couldn't hit a ball over a fence. They were almost always inside the park home runs. At the original Yankee Stadium, center field was probably 450, and so when they had the monuments were in play. That's one of my favorite things, is when you see a highlight of old Yankee Stadium, there'd be a ball and there'd be a guy trying to like work his way through the monuments to get the ball, because those were in play. People used to sit on the field, and there would just be a rope going across, and you were just kind of in play. The ball could roll underneath the rope, and you had to go in through the fans and get it, and it was still kind of in play. So Zach confirms, that the pole was still there. That's the last time we had any modern stadium with anything like that in play.
That is so crazy.
I'm sure, I'm gonna say 6 years. I'm gonna put a ballpark at around about 6 years in center field. But now, Isotopes Park, Tope Slope, Glen Allen Hill, Warren Peak, whichever one you prefer to call it out there. R.I.P. man. R.I.P. That was so sad. Right? I wasn't ready for that. I was not ready for that.
Yeah, me neither. It happened so fast. Listen, the devil works fast. The Albuquerque grounds crew works faster.
It's true. They ended up having the highest attendance down there in Albuquerque for average games. They averaged over 7,000. I think Las Vegas ended up having more overall attendance, but they played 2 more games. So again, they love cheating and fudging the numbers in Las Vegas. That's obvious. They had the highest and third highest attended game in all of minor league baseball. They had 2 gates, I should say, over 15,000. Albuquerque is an amazing baseball town.
I know. And I'm actually so bummed that neither of us got down to Albuquerque during this season. I feel like we need to prioritize that next year, because we gotta, we love showing our Topes some love, but I need to get down there.
Yeah, well, the crop of prospects is obviously going to start coming through. It's an interesting point, because Tovar and Tolio were there, but for like a week at a time, and then they were up to majors. So there wasn't this period, but maybe, Zach Veen, Drew Romo, Joe Rock, all of these guys, once they work their way through Hartford, you take the 6-hour drive down there from Denver to get to Albuquerque. Maybe you don't need to sleep in your car like I used to do. We'll talk about that another time. But Rockies minor league affiliates, sticking on that, they do finish with the second best winning percentage in all of the minor leagues. That is when you include the Dominican Summer League teams. They had 2 of them. The run differential wasn't quite as good, if that's an important thing. I think it is to a degree, but they won a lot of games. The Rays had the best record in the minor leagues any way you'd cut it, and it's for the 4th year in a row. So they put a premium on winning. Rockies are starting to do that now. It'll be interesting to see how that really comes to fruition in the major league product. We saw that in 2013 with the Asheville Tourists winning the South Atlantic League, and all of those guys who ended up impacting the roster in 17, 18, 19. So just a really successful year. If you exclude the Dominican Summer League teams who were really good, and you just basically have low A to high A, or low A to triple A, 7th best winning percentage. Still really solid. That's really solid. Hope is on the way.
It's promising. Yes. All the hope on the way that we can get, for sure.
All right. So let's get to the history. According to the Elias Sports Bureau, the series between the Rockies and the Dodgers, which we should remind you is an anomaly, when the first week of the first week of scheduled games in the 2022 season were postponed, they had to make them up somehow, because it's always funny when you say cancel, because you're like, well, the first week is the first week. When the Rockies, going back to 2020 during the pandemic season, and they started their first game, I think that was July 24th. That was opening day. So they didn't postpone opening day, or they didn't cancel opening day. They just moved it later. So they postponed the first week. They had to make up the game somehow. They had 2 doubleheaders in San Diego to make up those 2 games. And then to make up the 3 games they were supposed to start in LA, they tacked it on to the back of the season, where coincidentally is where they were supposed to finish up. So you have 6 games in LA. Everyone's saying, what the hell? This is not the first time it's happened, but it is the first time since a 6-game series ended the year for the Chicago White Sox and the St. Louis Browns in 1938. Folks, the St. Louis Browns, I don't know if we've ever mentioned the St. Louis Browns on a podcast before. St. Louis Browns.
I was wondering if this had happened before. I'm glad to see that it's happened once before and a million years ago. But yeah, it's going to be a weird series out here. I'm out here in
You
LA
are.
for it. I will be at Dodger Stadium later today. If you're watching us on YouTube, you'll see my beautiful backdrop of Dodger Stadium from a basement in Pasadena. But yeah, I'm curious to see. I'm like, okay, like after 3 games against the same guys that we've already played a ton, like what do we talk about for 6 games?
Pretty much. Yeah.
What's gonna happen?
Especially because you were there for the final week at Coors Field and you already kind of heard guys like winding down or them being
Yeah.
asked those, questions about like, all right, well, what went well and what didn't, et cetera, all that end of season type stuff. What's
Mhm.
also interesting too is Sunday's game. So you got a typical, 2-night games, getaway day, although they ain't getting away, is a day game. So Sunday's game is at 2:10, and then they've got to wait until Monday night to play again. So you got
So weird.
8:10. Yeah, 8:10 for the night games. Although Saturday is at 7:10, so be ready for that one. Um,
Yes.
and yes, the St. Louis Browns had a similar alien type looking logo for as the Cleveland Browns. Actually, no, the Browns have the elf. The Browns have the elf, but the St. Louis Browns, they had like this weird little Great Gazoo kind of looking character without the helmet. And
Hmm.
yes, the St. Louis Browns, 99% sure probably would have been first. They later moved from St. Louis and became the Baltimore Orioles. So they share the same history. The St. Louis Browns didn't just implode and die. They ended up moving, I want to say maybe
Hmm.
1956. Don't quote me on that. But yeah, St. Louis, they were the second rate team. The Cardinals were always first. And then the
Hmm.
St. Louis Browns were kind of the second tier team. George Sisler is the only big Hall of Fame name I can remember ever playing for the St. Louis Browns. But pitching matchup we
You
got.
can remember because you were there.
I was there. I was on the beat. At that point. Friday night, Chad Kuhl against Clayton Kershaw. Saturday, Kyle Freeland against Michael Grove. Who the hell is that? We'll talk about him in a second. Sunday's day game at 2:10. Not sure how many people will be watching that over the Broncos. You got Herman Marquez versus Tyler Anderson. That's interesting.
That is
Monday,
interesting. Our old
it
friend
is.
Tyler Anderson.
I agree. Monday night, Jose Urena versus Tony Gonsolin at 8:10. Tuesday at 8:10, Ryan Feltner versus Julio Urias. And then on Wednesday at 2:20, Chad Kuhl and Clayton Kershaw again. So that's also a weird one, is a guy
So
making
weird.
his start in the same location in back-to-back starts. Like that can happen. Like I think Marquez, he started against the Giants last week, but that was at Coors Field. He
Mhm.
starts this week at Oracle Park. Different. I don't know. And again, because there's not a lot of 6-game series in the same place, it would have to be like, let's say, a weekend series in San Diego. Then you fly back to Colorado for 3 games, and then you fly back to San Diego for 3 games in order to have the same guy start again in the same location. That's also a weird one. But Michael Grove,
Yeah.
perfect game or what? Is that going to be is he going to be the Ford Proctor of the series? Michael Grove, perfect game Saturday night. Come on.
Is that your weird prediction officially? Yeah, sure. I mean, it could anything could happen in this Dodger series for sure. I'm
Okay.
expecting full weird.
Yeah, no, it's gonna have its moments. It will deliver on the weirdness. So, Susie, I had to do my research to learn a little bit about Michael Grove.
Okay.
And how great do you think the information I'm going to share is going to be on a scale of 1 to 10? When I
You're
do my research and I do a deep dive,
mhm.
so Michael Grove, never even heard of the guy.
Mhm.
How great is this going to be? How fun, how exciting, how interesting, how strange on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being boring, 10, oh my God, what connections? This is crazy. His grandfather was who? What do you got?
I feel like you're hyping this up so much, so it's got to be at least an 8.
Okay. All right. So I thought you were going to go the opposite way and say, I'm hyping it up so much because there's nothing to know about this guy. And
I
that would
hope
have been
this.
the correct take.
No!
There's nothing interesting about Michael Grove. I'm sorry. Look, you might need to go into the Dodgers clubhouse and just ask him, what's something interesting about you? And you might say, oh, I put ketchup and mustard on my hot dog. And you're like, oh, Michael Grove, you're riveting. No, he was born and raised in West Virginia, went to the University of West Virginia.
Mm.
Otherwise, that's it. I've scoured
You
the
know
internet.
what? You know who we need to send in to talk to Michael Grove?
Who?
Thomas Harding, who is also from West Virginia and
Oh,
talks a lot about West Virginia. So there's going to be a connection there. I'm going to work on that.
that you will. That's right. He will be out in LA.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll have a
Yeah, it's
whole
going to
West
be a party
Virginia
out
chat.
here.
But what kind of information are we going to get? Like, oh, one time he jumped into that big old quarry in Wheeling, West Virginia. You're like, we'll take it. It's something. It's something. So, yeah, Michael Grove, man. Well, they'll have to dig it up. They'll find something out. So Saturday, we're looking for a perfect game, and we're looking for something interesting about Michael Grove. And if both of those things don't happen, that's okay. Believe us, we do not hope for any kind of no hitter or perfect game. In fact, if Jonathan Daza didn't double to lead off the game on Thursday night, we could have had a no hitter situation like another Bay Area team had. Right, Shohei Ohtani had his
Mm-hmm.
real deep against Oakland. Daza had the leadoff double, and then I think it was 6 innings until the Rockies finally were able to get another hit off Carlos Rodon. So it's rough. It's rough. All right, we got some other things we want to talk about real quick. A look around the league because there are 29 other baseball teams who do 29 other interesting things, unlike Mr. Michael Grove. Have you uncovered something interesting in baseball?
You know what? I found I wanted to show some news and notes I saw from social media. But I think Kale made us some graphics. Let's pull them up. What's going to be first? Oh, okay. So this is a fun fact. This is a map of the Blockbuster video location in operation the last time the Mariners made it to the playoffs.
Wow, there were a lot of blockbusters on the Front Range. Holy smokes, going all the way down like Colorado Springs up through Fort Collins was a pretty dark chunk right there.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
for
fitting that
sure.
the colors also match too.
You
I
know,
don't
I
know if you
think
noticed that.
I
Blockbuster and Mariners colors, same colors. Coincidence?
no,
I think
no.
not.
Mariners are blue and green, and the Blockbuster is blue and yellow. These aren't
They
the same
also have
colors.
they also have gold. They've got multiple colors. The Mariners. They've got a
Okay.
jersey that looks like that.
I
Yeah.
guess. Okay. All right. All right.
Similarities.
All right. What do we got next? What do we got next? Jeff Houston of AT&T Sportsnet got to drink out of the Stanley Cup the other day.
Whoa. I did not see that.
Yes.
Look at him go.
He posted it on his public Instagram page, so it's fair game. Fair game.
Full
But yeah,
disclosure, yes, it was out there.
full
Just to
disclosure.
get so we don't need to tap into Travis Legal offices for that one because it's fair use.
I checked in before.
Sorry, Travis. Travis Legal offices. We do not need you for this case.
We don't
yet.
need you. Not yet. Not yet. What else do we got, Kale? Okay, I loved this. So Austin Gomber's wife, Rachel, had the kiddos hand out these little thank you cookies at Coors Field for the last game of the season or last homestand of the season. So I thought that was really sweet.
That is sweet. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw a lot of little thank yous, a lot of little thank you gifts and tokens here and there for various Coors Field staff. So it's nice to see them being appreciated.
I think
like
the
that.
season ended probably a lot quicker than folks realize because again, it's
Yeah.
going into what October 6th or October 5th is the final game, and yet the Rockies are done at home that quickly. So
yeah, do we have anything else?
More cookies next year. We might get more cookies.
Oh my gosh!
This
Okay,
is bothersome now.
Have you seen this?
On the broadcast, they even have commercials for this movie that's coming out. It's popping up on Twitter everywhere. This is very viral, and it's kind of it's giving me nightmares already.
Yeah, so I guess there's a horror movie called Smile that is being promoted with some guerrilla marketing, and they're having this lady sit behind home plate, smiling the whole game, looking absolutely terrifying. So keep a lookout. If you see her on a broadcast, it's marketing. I think that's
everywhere.
It, right?
There's people at all the stadiums. I think I saw a guy doing it, and it is mildly making me interested in seeing this movie. I mean, marketing can work that way. But yeah, it's been heavy duty on the Smile all the time.
Very scary stuff. Do not like it. Not a horror movie girl. So I'm ready for that to be done.
I have a love-hate relationship with horror movies where
Hmm.
in another alternate reality, I got into them pretty heavy. But in this one, I'm married to my wife, and she'll have a nightmare if there's a spider is on the floor. So we stay away from those films,
Good.
to say the least. So
Good.
speaking of scary, Suzie is going to be in LA all week long covering the Rocky series. It's the series part that's scary, not you in LA with
Me in
sun.
LA is pretty scary, so I'll keep y'all posted. We'll talk again on Sunday about
Who
this.
are you? We should have set like an over under for like celebrities that you might end up seeing. Is there somebody that goes to Dodgers games that we know? I
I
mean,
mean, I
Mary
think
Hart doesn't go anymore.
a
Mario
lot of
Lopez,
maybe.
you're gonna have a Mario Lopez sighting. I think Mario
Yeah.
Lopez is where we're gonna set the bar. Let's see if you can do better. That's it. Mario Lopez is a perfect like B level star. We'll see if you can either match Mario Lopez caliber or better, or if it's going to be
Oh, this is a
below.
very good. I like this variety of over under.
And
This
I will
is
get,
good.
and I think I'll even give you the win, or I'll give you the over if you can couple together like a B and a C. So it doesn't have to just be one person. If you can get a nice smorgasbord of
Mhm.
celebrities, we can add them up, and it could end up equaling greater than one Mario Lopez. I'm up for
Wow.
it.
I will keep an eye out for sure. I
You,
promise you that.
you're going to be busy, and I know we're going to see all of that stuff about the most interesting man in the world, Michael Grove from West Virginia. We'll see what kind of celebrities are out. We'll see if Suzie runs into the smile people. And you could see all of that and more. Oh, God. On Twitter, at DNVR_Rockies, at Patrick D. Lyons is where I'm at on Twitter.
And you can find me at the Susie Hunter on all platforms.
Suzie, this has been a lot of fun, as it is always. But unfortunately, you know what they say about momentum. It's only as good as your next show. So we'll talk to you on Sunday.